Hey, good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending where you're at. It's Wells Only, currently by myself. And we're just gonna give the folks a few minutes to come in. I know it's early, but we'll get started in a couple minutes because it's 8:30 in the morning. I got stuff I gotta do too, but this is a very important stream that I'm doing because what's happening now is that well, we'll get into it. Let me just get the YouTube chat up so I can see what's going on. So, this is I hate to do streams like this last minute, but in our world we have no option because everything is moving constantly. Everything is changing constantly. And when it comes to finance or economics or whatever, right, it's really no different. Just like your life is always changing and things are always moving, so is the case in the real world. And that's why these macro streams kind of happen at the last second. And they're important because this is what's going to allow you to make the right financial decisions, right? It's easy to think, it's just the math and all of that. But the math has a qualitative aspect that is embedded in macro analysis or just economic analysis or just human analysis in general, right? Because that's all economics is. Economics is the study of human interaction with value. They'll try to give you 100 million other different definitions of the shit, but that's basically what it is. It's a study of human psychology with respect to value. Otherwise, what else is it? Behavioral finance? There's no such thing. It's all economics. They just want to change the term to make it sound cool and make more money for themselves. So we'll just keep it at that, right? Very high level, very, very straightforward. Shout out to Tangent. I can't believe he just did an 8-hour stream. It's just crazy. But yeah, so this one is topical. This one is right now. This one is going to go into the IMF, as you can tell by the thumbnail. Is going to go into who they are, what their objectives are, why do they even matter, why don't we ever hear anything about them except for when they're lending money to other countries to basically, lock them in. And by lock them in, I'm literally mean lock them in, because once these countries take on these insurmountable amounts of debt, what happens is that their economies essentially get destroyed permanently. And this is what we've seen all over the world since the inception of Bretton Woods, IMF, etc. Right? Because this is basically what's been happening for the past 80 years. And reality is unless you're in the freaking third world, you're not gonna have a fucking clue. What is an American gonna know about this shit? Not a damn thing, because everything is all good over here, and all they see is headlines, and the headlines are, as we all know, curated and presented to their benefit, right? Not yours, not so you can actually educate yourself and whatnot. So it's important to understand that. And 2020 should really have taught everybody that headlines are bullshit, right? If you don't get that in 2021, if you don't understand the media is there to manipulate you, then maybe you're in the wrong chat, wrong stream, whatever. But here you're going to get the facts. You're going to get the proof, in fact, because nobody is here to just make outlandish claims. We are here to present factual information and put people on the right course for, what is coming, because nobody cares about you. Some people really need to understand. You need to care about you, not me, not any streamer, not anybody that you like. No, you need to educate yourself. You need to understand what's going on, because Wales isn't going to tell you what to do with your money. No, he's not. Nobody is going to tell you to do with your money. Nobody's going to tell you what to do with your money. And the simple fact of the matter is that nobody should be telling you what to do with your money. Only you. And this is why education is most important, right? Nobody is going to have your risk parameters in mind and all of that good stuff. And this is why you don't take financial advice from others. And this applies to everyone. Now, mathematical advice, however, is something entirely different, right? Because these are things that we can see and verify. And here's the cooler thing about it. Your opinion is irrelevant. How about that? My opinion is irrelevant. Everybody's opinion is irrelevant. And this is why my perspective is always quantitative, mathematical, whatever you want to call it. It's never qualitative, even though we must be able to supplement or augment the qualitative aspect with the qualitative aspect, right? Because things have to make logical sense. And that in a certain aspect is a qualitative aspect of what we do. But it was important to realize that, you know, even when it comes to quantitative or qualitative aspects, excuse me, even when it comes to qualitative aspects of things, it's important to realize that there is still a logical element, right? Which you can call math if you want, but it's just a certain order of things and how they should be, right? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? Which one comes before? It depends on the point of view, right? Some people will say the chicken, some people will say the egg, some people just won't know. But there's clearly an answer, right? What's the answer? I don't know. It depends on your point of view. And that's exactly why financial risk is dependent on the person taking the risk and not those that supposedly know, because nobody knows what's best for you. Nobody. This is why you have to make your own financial decisions and just make sure that you're educated in every aspect possible, because that's how you make the proper decisions for you, because only you know what you want for your future, nobody else. So it's very important people understand that. All right. I think that's enough. I think I've been yapping about nonsense for 6 minutes and some change now. So let's run through the chat and see who's in here. Do a little roll call, and then we're going to get into it, because I don't want this to really drag out too long. Let's see here. What's going on, Rango? Thank you for coming through. See, Chef, what's going on? Crypto Kings Club 369. What's going on, brother? Yes, smash the likes, folks. Smash the likes. Let's get this thing pumping. Let's get folks educated. Let's get people aware of what is actually happening in their economy in real time. Because here's another thing. You'll presume that the IMF has nothing to do with you, but you know, we just let these random individuals tell us what the fuck to do. That's why your dumbass is walking around with a fucking mask and getting vaccines and shit that you don't need to get. So this is all tied to that too. Nothing is independent. This is all related. This is what people have to wrap their heads around when it comes to macro markets. You cannot avoid one aspect of life just because you feel like it, because it permeates all orifices of reality. And why is that? Because it's all about control, right? And everything, if you have ever been to fucking one or two of my streams, I make that shit perfectly clear, and I provide the evidence that makes that perfectly clear. Now, you can believe whatever you want. That's your prerogative. Doesn't change the facts that are represented on any stream that I do. You don't want to believe that they're here to control every aspect of your life? Good luck to you. And let me know how those taxes are going when you got to pay them, even though you don't want to. Because that also is a function of control. It's not a function of society and a social contract and all that bullshit. I don't remember signing one. Did you? Yeah, I didn't think so. So these are the kind of things we have to keep in mind when we're looking at the big picture, right? The big picture is the key. Fuck everything else. Everything else is only going to give you menial information that'll let you make tactical decisions, right? And while tactical decisions are important, strategic decisions are the most important decisions that we make, because we have to realize platitudes and verbiage and, you know, motivational speak is all fine and well, but all that shit is irrelevant if you're not realizing that you must take action and that you must take strategic action, right? It's one thing to think you know what's going on, right? It's another thing to act on what you know, because acting on what you know is what solidifies your information base, gives you confidence, and allows you to then further make other moves, right? And this is what this is all about. This is why having the right information is critical. This is why all of these streams, while they might run long sometimes, they run long for a reason. It's because the type of information being provided just can't be glanced over. And I know everybody loves some quick 20-minute shit, but here's a fact. You're not getting anything in a quick 20 minutes, period. You're not. So while you can like those videos all you want, fact remains, you got to pay for the rest of what you're not getting. because it's not free. And you're either going to pay somebody to teach you or the market's going to teach you. Either way, it's not going to be free. The question is, well, how much do you want to pay? A little bit or a lot? Person's going to let you pay a little bit. The market, ain't no telling how much that motherfucker going to charge you, because it doesn't give a fuck about you. And this is why we run through these streams. This is why we have these long ass streams in reality, because it's easy to just say that, right? But it's not easy to explain and provide all of the relevant information that kind of lets us know that that's true, right? Because it's very easy to make claims, right? Very easy to make, and we see them all the time, right? The promise coin space is you know, a riff with them, right? Like there's nothing but promises over there, and that's kind of like another thing that we don't like over here, right? We like complete products, right? This is what the whole thing between a promise coin and an actual crypto, this is where they differentiate at, right? You have cryptos that, well, they're not cryptos, right? They're just promise coins, and that's the whole point. So just wanted to touch on that for a split second, and keep running through the chat. Oh, already with the super chat. Thank you, DJ Alo, I guess, or Jalo. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, 007. Wow. Hell of a compliment I just seen from Hiroshi. Charlton Online. Shout out to you, brother. Hiroshi, I'd like to think this is true for all the years I spent watching Bloomberg and being disgusted and scoffing at them, because I thought for a while there that they were actually trying to provide, you know, factual financial information. But they're just another part of the fuck show that is mainstream media. So do not ever watch anything from there, right? CNBC, all that bullshit is just that bullshit. It's just there to trap you, get you in the wrong frame of mind. And, you know, you have to understand, we have a reflexive financial system for a reason, right? Everything is guided through headlines and the indices as we see them in the stock markets. Like all of these things are built on illusions. And the stock market is a great representative of this, because most people don't know this, but every stock market index is designed to only go up and to the right, but you don't know how. And I'll tell you real quick, every stock market or every stock in that index has to literally be a proper, it has to perform as far as it being a positive performer, meaning if it doesn't go up all the time over time, and it loses a big chunk of its value, it gets released from the index, meaning it is no longer a part of the index. And this is why it looks like stocks go up all the time, but in reality, they don't. How about that? Most people don't know that, but this is why stock market indices and whatnot are always going up. It's not for any other, it's not because stocks always go up. It's just not. And this is something that is important for people to understand. Because, you know, the information that we act on, right, is what leads to all of the realities that we are left to deal with after we make our decision, right? And this is why logic is so important. Understanding the rules to the game are supremely important. All of these different things, all of these different facets are a function of what it is you're trying to actually accomplish over time, right? Even if you don't realize that that's the case, that's exactly what's going on, because every time you make a decision to go from one thing to the next, regardless of what it is, it doesn't matter if it's, I don't know, give me a second, guys. It doesn't matter if it's hold on. Doesn't matter if it's excuse me, what now I forgot what the hell I was saying. Rambling on too much. That's what that means. So we'll keep it moving. We got 100 people in the chat. This is crazy. 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in. All right, let's keep it going. Rick Schmitz, Besot, shout out to you guys. Crypto Kobe, thank you for coming through. Doing well, Rango. I hope everybody is having a great morning or evening or day, depending on where you're at. Hex Toshi, what's up? Roy Hobbs. Shout out to you, like the little message there. Ashanti Maurice, shout out to you. Haven't seen your name before. Welcome aboard if you're new. For all the newcomers, if you're new, like and subscribe. You know, share. This information is really time sensitive. You know, it's real time. It's real time. Nobody is here sharing misinformation. In fact, we're not even trying to waste your time. We're trying to like just give you the facts. Finn Bear, Hex Clips, Crypto Panda with the K. Shout out to you, man. Jay Everything, Andrew, Martis. You looking new to me, brother. Thank you for joining us. Markable, what's going on, bro? Thank you for coming through. Big Gunner, what's going on? Dorsey78, what's up, bro? Big Bud Wolf, how you doing, man? Thank you for coming through. Joey Puletti, shout out to you, brother. Fatal Fury, what's going on? 10 Top, shout out to you. Mr. Chaos, how you doing, man? Thank you for coming through. Heximus Decimus, what's up? All right. You got 110 people now, so this is getting crazy. Thank you for the super chat again, brother. Appreciate you. You look like a new sub. Thank you again. Appreciate the gesture. Yeah, I'm not. This isn't gonna be an 8-hour stream. I don't know if that was what you guys were implying. What's going on, Rome? Thank you for coming through, brother. Archie, yes, what's going on? Serenity, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Mango Junkie, what's going on? MWSR, what's going on? Thank you for coming through. Yeah, that's a good one, Johnny. Chicken was minting out of thin air. Yeah, well, interestingly enough, the topic at hand today is things that come out of thin air. Tokyo, shout out to all my Hex agents over there if you're in Hex. Bearded Saint, what's going on? Baseline, what's up? Thank you guys for coming through. Hex Oregon, what's going on? Joshua Fleming, Crypto Orange, thank you for coming through. Reggie Bone, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. Type of Life, shout out to you. Cash Plus, what's up? All about the Hex. Salute to you, my friend. EF Hutton, do you hear him? Well, that's an old school joint. If you're not in finance or old school, you're not gonna know. You're not gonna get the reference to that joke. But look it up. EF Hutton. EF Hutton commercials from the 80s, mad funny. Shout out to you, brother Corey, an investor. How you doing, man? Hope every Hexagon is doing great. If you're a new Hexagon, welcome aboard. You've just hit the jackpot and you know, found the best community pretty much in crypto, if not on the planet. So good luck to you. Each moon month. Oh yeah, you know what? That's interesting. That's true. I have realized that the months change, or the quantity of days change with the month, or with the type of month that there's going to be in that, or the type of moon there's going to be in that month, or something like that. I got into that a little while ago, but never got to really finalize all the knowledge with that with respect to that. But yeah, so let's get into it, guys. Again, we're going to talk about the IMF, what SDRs are. And I'm sorry that this is last minute. I wanted to do a better type of presentation on who the IMF and the World Bank are, because it's just more of the same as far as we know it. Just a bunch of random people deciding what's good for you and what's not good for you, right? And if you're just joining, no worries. Nate J, shout out to you, brother. We're just getting started right now. I haven't really gotten to the meat and potatoes. We're just getting to it right now. We got 114 people apparently viewing, which is a lot for a freaking 8:30 morning stream. At least in my opinion, it is 8:50 in the morning. So we're just getting to it now. So if you're just getting in, I just finished doing roll call right now, basically as best as I could with 100 people in here. So we're just getting to it right now. No worries on that front. And again, I'm actually still working, so I'm gonna be talking all this crap as I'm trying to get through my menial work day here. Hold on. Okay, so you know the IMF. Where do they come from? Why do they matter? Right? Most of us don't know who the fuck they even are. Right? Like the average person isn't gonna have a single clue who the IMF is. And that's why this is important. You know, it again, right? Who's the UN? Where'd the UN come from? What's Bretton Woods? Why do I care, right? And it's because everything that goes on from a macro perspective affects you, period, whether you want it to or not. And here's the thing, here's a big secret. I used to be the kind of guy that never gave a fuck about politics enough to look left or right. And rightfully so. Right? We understand it's a game. We understand it's a joke. We understand all of that. But the reality is that you can't ignore what they're doing because they're doing it, and people around you are complying to the tune that they are endangering your existence, because guess what? They don't care. They just want control. They're just there to take over. They're there to tell you exactly what you want to hear, so that they can get exactly what they want, right? And that's exactly what we've seen over time. And that's not something that can really be debated. We see this all the time, from time to time. What the hell? And that's important to understand, because they don't hide anything that they do. They're not even trying to. In fact, they go out of their way to let you know what they're doing. And that's the thing that most people just choose to not see. And I honestly don't know why, but we're going to try to just educate people and help them understand exactly what's going on, right? And this is basically the purpose of all of my streams. When I first came on the scene, I had no idea what I was doing. What the hell? I'm sorry, guys. Okay. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what kind of content I'd be able to provide to people. Like, I just made that crypto video and that was it. I thought I was done. But here we are, right? 6 months later, still talking about everything that's going on, because no matter how much you know about Hex, right, you have to realize that you don't know shit about money. And that really applies to pretty much everybody. Unless you're like on my fucking level, super woke type shit, you don't have a clue. And I'm only here because I realized, after taking on a shit ton of student debt and all of these things that we normally do, right, thinking we have an idea of what we're doing. And that's the biggest fallacy, right? You turn 18, you're told you're an adult, but the reality is that that's the biggest setup. You just got put into a legal trap by the world and you don't know it. That's the reality of what becoming 18 or 21 or wherever the fuck age it is, wherever you're at, respectively, right? Because every country does what they want to do to a certain extent, or they're allowed to do what they want to a certain extent, right? And these are all things, while they might not seem relevant, because I'm here to talk the IMF and special drawing rights, guess what? They're supremely irrelevant, or they're supremely relevant, because understanding what the rules of the game are what brought me to this point in time now. This is why I know all the bullshit I know now. It's not because it's cool to know. Do you think I get paid for knowing this information? No, nobody gives a fuck that I know it. In fact, I've known this shit for so long that I thought I was fucking psycho for a second until I found Hex, because who the fuck else is talking about this? Who else cares about money? Everyone else is out here trying to flip a couple paychecks from a job to another, right? They don't understand that they're being played. They don't understand that they've been lied to since birth, right? You know, that social security number, or that identification number that governments give you, that's just a QSIP. And all a QSIP is an identifier for a financial product, a financial asset, or just, a financial instrument, really, is the best way to put it. That's what your ID number is, your social security number, whatever you want to call it, because they track everything you do with that. It's not a coincidence. It's not to make sure you're you. The fuck? You don't know who you are? Right? Like, of course you know who the fuck you are. That's fucking asinine. But that's the lie that they sell, right? And people buy into it. People believe it. And this is why this education is supremely important. Supremely. Like, nothing else really matters, because at the end of the day, they're going to tell you what they want you to hear. And what they want you to hear is whatever you want to keep you complacent and non-inquisitive. That's the key. keeping you non-inquisitive, because that is how you stay there watching TV, celebrating. I don't know what the fuck, because you have nothing to celebrate. Nothing. In all honesty, you're not free to do anything. Don't pay taxes on your property that you think you own. Don't pay taxes at all and see what you can accomplish in this world. And that literally lets you know that you have zero freedom. Because why do you have to pay an extortion fee to just live? That's what taxes are. Now, the last time I checked, all those tax dollars that you're using, right? All that fiat that you're paying to live within this society, this structure, do you see anything that is yielding a benefit to you with respect to what you're giving or what's taken from you? And the fact of the matter is, no, you don't get any benefit from it. And all you have to do is look outside. Odds are, if you live in a city, you pay a shit ton of taxes, and all those taxes are not going to anything. And if you don't believe me, look outside. Let me know how crappy the roads are in the city that you live, because if you live in a city, they are. Let me know about all the homelessness in the city that you live, because that's fucking common all across America. And in fact, the bigger the population in the city, the bigger the homeless population. Just by default, right? It's going to be proportional, because everything is designed to be that way, right? And these are the things that we have to realize. You know, all right. So IMF, UN, right? Bretton Woods, all of these institutions, Council for Foreign Relations, Atlantic Council, all these institutions are just random individuals, right? That are there to tell you what to do. Governments are there to do what they want them to do, right? They're the intermediary. They're the governments are the faces, right? Excuse me for a second. I need to make a little loud noise. And this is why it's important to understand all of these nuances. It's not because I just want to sit here and talk. I don't. Hey, you know what? This is important. It's important for me. And it's going to be just as important for you Hexicans. If you have not seen the Kitco News interview with Richard Hart, please view it. Please share it. This was probably one of the best interviews Richard has done. And luckily, it was outside of crypto where Hex will shine, because, or excuse me, outside of the promise coin space, which is where Hex will shine, because you don't have to deal with the moronicity that exists in the promise coin space, right? You're gonna have people that are at least going to be able to have the ability to ask questions and have the capacity to try to understand what is going on. So please watch the video. It's unbiased, it's fair, and Richard does an outstanding job explaining Hex in very layman terms, which, you know, in my experience is almost unheard of. So you know, because Rich is a very smart guy, but he's been working really hard at explaining these crucial concepts. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second, guys. So yeah, so this is what this is all about, right? And again, Kitco, right? They're a major source of news for precious metals investors, right? And this is why it's important that Richard was on that show, because now we're making headway into the legacy space. Now it's not just going to be me being the person that knows about it, right? It's going to be a few of us now, right? Not really just little old me. It's going to be more people that are going to see what's going on, right? And that's what it's about. It's about maintaining that situation or that education, right? And the more we're able to share Hex with others, the better off we all are, because we don't need anybody to buy Hex to succeed, but we do need people to buy Hex so that they can find financial freedom. That's the differentiator, right? That's the difference between a pyramid scheme and Hex, right? That's the difference between a Ponzi scheme and Hex. We don't need anybody to buy any more Hex. If you're already in Hex, you're all the way good. Now, those that are not in Hex, not so much the case, right? And this is why getting Hex out there, promoting it, making sure folks understand what it is, how important it is, how good it is. All of these facets are key. They're supreme. And these are the things that we have to understand about Hex and about everything, right? Because we're looking at the big picture here. So let's get into the IMF, right? And I already kind of started talking about disclaimer: the information displayed in this broadcast is going to cause increased amounts of FOMO, but not really. I'm just here talking about macro shit. And this is all information that, as you'll see, sources, right? Links. So it's not my information. I'm just presenting what's already out there, right? And this is the important thing that people need to understand. So, and we're going to go to the site as well. Like, again, I'm not here to make up anything. I'm just here to share what I know. I want people to understand that. And what I know is based on the public information that's available in conjunction with the actions taken by these actors, right? Because we have to understand, nobody is here to do anything for you. They're here to lie to you, just like they've always been doing, right? So let's get into it. What or who is the IMF? The IMF was established in 1944 in the quote-unquote aftermath of the Great Depression of the 30s. But what actually was occurring in the 40s? We know what was occurring in the 40s. World War II. World War II was a result of the Great Depression. At least that's a story. We all, if you're a student of history, then you probably know by now that that's not the case. But we're not here to talk about that. We're just here to talk about the IMF itself. So don't let me get on too many tangents, please. So as we can see here, we have 44 founding member countries that sought to build a framework for international economic cooperation. Now, that begs the question, well, what the fuck were people doing for the previous thousands of years in their existence? Right? Well, what the hell were they doing? It seems like they were able to get away with it just fine up until that point. So the question is, well, what changed in the 30s and the 40s that this seems like a good idea? Well, it's kind of like what we've been seeing lately, right? And it's kind of like what we always see when we look at history. And here's the thing. If you've been around since the 70s or the 60s, you've seen the same thing over and over and over. The question is, do you realize it? And for most, the answer is no, because of the way things are framed, right? And as you guys probably remember, I'm very big on distorting what you think is reality and presenting you with what's really real. Literally. Like that's why I'm guessing I'm popular, because I'm not here talking about fucking makeup and lollipops, right? Nobody's here talking about no bullshit. I'm not even here telling you you're gonna be fucking rich. I'm here telling you what you need to know. I'm not here promoting anything or nothing like that, right? I'm here literally sharing real life information that's gonna change your life. Now, why is that important? Well, it's kind of like the little story I was telling earlier about how I didn't give a rat's ass about politics. And I mean, and I was proud to say that, right? Because we all know it's a game, it's a sham, it's a joke. But until I got into finance and economics, I didn't realize how important that sham, that joke that they're playing on us is, right? And the reason for that is because everything in our lives revolves around money. You go outside, do something, let me know if you can accomplish it without money. Go ahead, I'll wait. I'll give you like 30 seconds. Just put it in the chat if you can do something without money and get it accomplished. That requires money. And requires money. Right? Because there's nothing. You can't even go to a park nowadays and not spend money because you're going to eventually need water or some shit, right? And that shit is not readily available. And these are the kind of things we have to realize, right? Nobody out here in most cases can grow their food, their own food, right? Unless they have a setup, like you can't grow your own food. You can't do anything without an intermediary. And this is what this is why they hate crypto, right? This is why I'm doing this stream instead of working, because, you know, fuck work. Wall Street will be there or they won't. But this information is critical to all of our futures, because if you don't make the right decision now, we are all going to suffer the consequences later. And that's true. We are all going to suffer the consequences later. Now, how is that? Well, I'm not everybody. You're not everybody. Unfortunately, we can't sway what others think and opt to do. And we can't force people to think what we want them to think. The only thing we can realistically do, right, and this includes family members, which are the hardest ones to get to see what you see, because you know what you know. You don't know what they don't know. And while you understand what you're saying, they're not going to, because they're not going to have the same frame of thought, the same frame of mind, all of these things, right, that you're used to having. They're not going to have it, right? They're not the ones walking around thinking about money. They're not the ones doing anything, right? That it's just not in their prerogative. It's not what they want to be doing. So it's kind of like Kareem says, right? Repetition is the mother of all instruction, right? Of all, what's the damn word? No, I can't remember. Repetition is the mother of all things, really. Because if you don't repeat it, if you don't repeat that critical piece of information, right? Go over it in your head, understand it, realize what's going on over and over and over until, like, think about math for example, right? With math, a lot of people think that they can just jump in there and read it and get it. No. It actually requires action. It requires intention. It requires an intention to want to learn what the math is. You can't just read it and get it. It doesn't work that way. There's a process, there's steps, right? There's things you have to know, and everything builds upon everything else, right? And the real world is just like that. And let's continue now. What is the IMF? The IMF is governed by, oh, hold on, let me finish reading this. So 44 founding member countries back in 1944, right? Today, its membership embraces 190 countries. So it essentially, for almost 5x, or 40. Yeah, it almost 3 to 4x, right? They 3 to 4x their number of countries. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is, how in the hell do you start with 44 and then get up with 100, end up with 190? But what happened? That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I see that. Now let's continue. The IMF is governed by and accountable to those 190 countries that make up its near global membership. Now, interesting sentence, because how can you be accountable to an entity that you're a creditor to? Interesting. I'm not sure, because the last time I checked, I'm not accountable to my job, or my job isn't accountable to me because they give me a paycheck. If I own rent money, the landlord isn't accountable to me. If I owe bank, if I owe money to a bank, and you kind of get what I'm saying, like, actually, no, sir. I smoke all day, every day. I don't need to toke less. Sorry. But appreciate the sentiment, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you for looking out, because I know you're just looking out. But yeah, this is critical, right? This is critical. you go from 44 to 190. Now, how in the fuck did that happen? Well, don't worry. I got the answer for you. You know I do. You know I do, right? Because I don't fuck around. So let's keep going. At the top of its organizational structure is the Board of Governors. Well, that sounds familiar. Where else do we have Board of Governors? Well, let's do a little quick Google search. Because the information is readily available for us to discover. Now, let me just find this damn browser because, here we go. Let's see, Federal Reserve. Oh, look at that. Oh, shit, look at that. So why am I going through the hassle of looking this up? Well, it's very important. These words are not chosen by mistake. And this is what people need to realize, right? Everything is not chosen by mistake. Everything is chosen with intention and deliberation. So you have Board of Governors at the IMF, but now you also have Board of Governors at the Federal Reserve. Well, you have the Federal Reserve first, which is not federal. And if you don't know why or how, even though it says .gov, please go back to my stream where I detail exactly how the Federal Reserve, nor any other central bank for that matter, is private. Proof positive is all we have here because we don't have anything else. The things that we're trying to accomplish in the crypto community require proof. They don't require speculation or conspiracy. I don't dabble in such things. So the next time you hear somebody tell you, oh, conspiracy this, conspiracy that, just smile at them and their ignorance, because they're going to be the people that end up suffering from their poor decision making based on their lack of information or their lack of want for information, which is important. So that's another thing, right? We got that. The day-to-day work of the IMF is overseen by its 24-member executive board. 24 members. Interesting. Let's see something. What else do we have here that's kind of similar to that 24 number? Let's see. About the Fed, structure of the Federal Reserve System. Let's see here. Here we go. Yes. You have the main central bank, and then you have the so-called three key entities. You have a Federal Reserve Board. 12 reserve banks. But wait, you have a FOMC committee too? Who's making the decisions? Exactly. What? Well, let's try to find out because I know it's all confusing. So let's try to see. Let's see. Let's see if we can get anything from here. And again, I love doing this in real time because people are going to see the information isn't provided by me. Right? I'm not here telling you some shit on a slide. I'm here copy pasting. And there's a reason for that. Everybody wants those 500,000 views. Yeah, I don't want that shit. I want people that want to come and learn shit that's going to change their lives. I'm not here to get views and fucking plugs and all this bullshit. I'm not here to sell fucking hope. I'm here to sell reality. Reality is what's going to get your pockets right, because reality is what doesn't get you to buy Bitcoin at 60,000, right? Bitcoin at 60,000 is what happens when you believe the bullshit. Very important to understand, because that shit is critical, right? Now let's continue. Oh wait, yeah. So we got. Give me a second here. So we got 12 members that are part of the Federal Reserve. Now let's see how many members we have on the FOMC. 12 voting members of the FOMC right? So how does the FOMC work? Consists of 12 voting members. 7 of them are from the Board of Governors. Board of Governors, term that presents itself once again. And also note the capital letters at the beginning of those words. It must be important. Yep, seems to be important. Written the exact same way. Interesting. All right. So we got 12 from there, 7 total from the Board of Governors, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Interesting. Why is the one in New York so important? What about the other 12? Well, they only get 4 of the remaining seats, right? You got 7 from the Board of Governors, 1 from the Federal Reserve Board of New York. That's 8 plus 4 gives you 12. 4 of the 11 remaining 11 Reserve Bank presidents. All of the 12 Reserve Bank presidents attend FOMC meetings, however, and participate in discussions, but only the presidents who are on the FOMC committee are allowed to vote on policy decisions. Now, that seems kind of funky. Why are they allowed to sit in the meeting, know about everything that's going on, but apparently they don't have any say in the outcome? Okay. By law, I find that to be cute, because if 2020 taught us anything, there is no law in America. So let's keep it moving. The FOMC determines its own internal organization. By tradition, the FOMC elects the chair of the Board of Governors as its chair and the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York as its vice chair. Now, it's this damn Federal Reserve Bank of New York again. Why is this so important? What's in New York? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out one day. FOMC meetings typically are held 8 times a year in D.C. Now, let's see what the FOMC is charged with. They're charged with overseeing open market operations, the principal tool by which the Federal Reserve executes U.S. monetary policy. Wow. It's a whole lot in a little right there. So, similar structure, right? Important to understand. You got Board of Governors again. You have a multiple of 12, right? Now let's see something. I know what to do. Give me a second here. Board of Governors. Yeah. So let's just look at this real quick. All right. So who is on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors? This is one I wanted you guys to look at, because these are names that you're going to see from time to time, even if it's not in a constant capacity, right? So you have the current chair, Jerome Powell. We've seen him before. Vice chair, right? And you're not going to know who this person is, so the name isn't irrelevant. But then you got the random governors. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 Board of Governors that we just saw, right? That were being detailed here, right? Or 7 members from the Board of Governors. So they didn't give us everything here. Hold on, let me see something. Wait, are they throwing names in there? No, they're not. They're just missing mad people. Interesting. Well, so much for that. Let's see who's on the Federal Reserve Board. Let's see if they give us some names. No thanks. Let's see. Give me a second here. Just trying to see if we can find some critical information. All right, looks like we're gonna. Nope. They're just giving us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names again. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Open seat 7. Okay. So here we go. We do got 7. Here we have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The current governors, right? It's 7 from the board. And currently there's an open seat. For whatever reason. Give me a second, guys. All right. Oops. Fuck. Hold on. Just a little word crap. Nope. Gotta fake the funk, make it look good while I'm doing it. All right. So yeah, so there's currently an open seat. And the open seat is probably because nobody could occupy it or somebody had to leave or some nonsense like that. Who knows? I'm not really here to discuss that. That's really not important. It's just to equate what's going on internally, i.e. in the US, with respect to what's going on at a global scale, right? And this is the important thing that I'm trying to show. Like, executive board, we saw that, right? And that's a common term, right? That's not even anything special, right? Like, that's just common. And, you know, they use these words for a reason, for a very good reason. And it's because they have certain connotations, certain implications in the mental mind of a person, and how they react to it, because they're trained to think a certain way. So, okay. All right. So the managing director is the head of the IMF staff. This kind of detail isn't really important, because we're going to come to see that all of this is just really fluff. Then this is interesting here. The IMF's resources. Give me a second, guys. All right. Oops. Sorry, guys. So the IMF resources, and this is probably the last two are probably the most important snippets out of this. And this is from the About page. So if you want to find this stuff, you can go there and see it. The IMF's resources mainly come from the money that countries pay as their capital subscription. Now we're going to get to that, because this is essentially them buying into ownership of the IMF. But the way it's written is not like that. And we're going to get to how so momentarily. Excuse me, guys. Just been sitting for a while here. And we're already going almost at an hour. This is crazy. All right. So each member of the IMF is assigned a quota based broadly on his relative position in the world economy. Interesting comment. Interesting statement. We'll get to see why it's so interesting shortly. Here we go. This is a great comment by Mark. Thank you, brother, for sharing that. And I'm sorry if I'm missing a lot of good comments, but I can't do it all when I'm rolling solo. So I'll catch some comments and I'll miss some. Indonesia was sold by Suharto and belongings to IMF World Bank. Yeah, the population is in full swing right now. That's a fact. If you don't know what's going on in Indonesia or that part of the world in general, look it up. And this is to paraphrase the late great George Carlin, fact of life. Yes. And there is an interesting aspect to all of this that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And once I am able to, best believe I'll be the first to share it with you guys. But there is a way out, and trust me, I'm looking. So this is an interesting question, right? Because I think I have to do a stream on that topic alone, because we're seeing them react, right? We're seeing them react in a big site, or in a big way. You can see fund rankings on sovereign wealth fund. Yes. This is thank you for putting that up there, Sandy B. I haven't even and this is crazy. I haven't even touched on the topic of sovereign wealth funds and the role they play in our world, right? Because they do play a role. Excuse me. So let me just look at this question real quick, and I need a little water break because I've been yapping for an hour straight. So what do I think the impact of these institutions on the utility and value of HEX and crypto in general? So here's the thing you have to understand. And I know this isn't going to make sense, but bear with me. You got to realize that ever since crypto came out and they learned that it exists, it's been under the microscope. They understand what's going on. What they don't understand is how screwed they are. That's what they don't understand. And how is this the case? Well, let's break it down bullet point by bullet point, right? Let's take it item by item. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. So let's break it down item by item. They negatively talk about crypto when they don't want you to interact with it. And by they, I mean mainstream media and the powers that be. All those folks in that gang. They don't want you touching it. They say it's risky. They say it's a danger. They say it's the worst thing you can dabble in, right? You have all these politicians coming out of the woodworks now, while they were quiet for the first 4 to 6 months of the year, right? While mainstream media was pumping Bitcoin and crypto, they were quiet, not saying a damn thing, until, of course, the rug pulls come. The wrecked sensation comes, the wreck wave comes, right? Then it's a full-out attack on crypto and exchanges and everything related. No crypto ads, no nothing. And now this isn't to speak kindly of the exchanges getting slapped, because we know that the ones getting slapped, they're getting slapped rightfully so. But nonetheless, the attack is on crypto in general, and that's the point. So you have to pay attention to the ebb and flows of the attacks. They don't do anything by mistake. And this is the most important thing people must realize. Look at what they're doing. 2020 is a lesson to us all. And if we don't take it verbatim as to what it was, as it continues 8 months into 2021, and people are still sleeping at the fucking wheel, it's incredible. You still got retards out here putting fucking masks on after they were told to take them off. You were just told to take them off. Why the fuck are you putting it back on, you moron? Just because they're making up some new shit you haven't figured out yet you're being lied to? It's incredible. But here we are in 2021. And we're even seeing it in finance because people don't get it, right? They don't understand that what you're dealing with is, hold on a second, guys. What you're dealing with is simply a ruse, right? And that ruse is always about just keeping you in the dark, helping you, helping you think you know what's going on when you don't, because they're the ones telling you what's going on, and they're not. They're keeping you in the dark. They're not letting you know anything. They're just giving you misinformation every which way that they can, and they're good at it. So that's what their whole intention is, right? So this is another thing, and I'm not going to say it verbatim. This is completely against HIPAA violations. They can't institute that. So good luck to them. No, they'll be all right. Don't matter. But this is all to say, if you're not educating yourself, and how you doing, Mr. Squizzer? Thank you for coming through. If you're not educating yourself, you're gonna get sucked in by the trap. Yeah, and this disappeared too magically all of a sudden, right? So let's get back to this. IMF resources mainly come from the money that countries pay as their capital subscription, and we'll go into why this is just countries buying in or getting put into the IMF. Each member of the IMF is assigned a quota, interesting terminology, based broadly on his relative position in the world economy. Countries can then borrow from this pool when they fall into financial difficulty. Interesting. Why would it go there? Interesting. Well, this is probably why. The IMF provides loans, including emergency loans, to, guess who? Member countries experiencing actual or potential balance of payments problems. Balance of payments. Oh, I should detail that. We'll talk about that for a couple minutes so everybody knows what balance of payments is. But basically, it's the balance sheet for a nation. And we'll get into that. The aim is to help them rebuild their international reserves, stabilize their currencies, continue paying for imports. Oh, wow. Well, and restore conditions for strong economic growth while correcting underlying problems. Is that right? And interestingly enough, they highlight Ireland and how they helped them. Now, I don't know if people know about Ireland, but that's not quite how it went down. But, I left it just to kind of touch on it. But, man, let me tell you, it's just not how it went down. Now, I'm going to now switch to the browser again because there's certain things I want to touch on that are not any of that. And now let's go to what prompted this. What prompted this live stream? So August 2nd, the Board of Governors of the IMF, oh, there's that term again, has approved. Now, I don't know what they're approving or how their approval even matters, but apparently it does. The US dollar equivalent and special drawing rights, which are SDRs, we're going to get into that shortly, of about $650 billion worth of these currency units on August 2nd. But to guess for what? To boost global liquidity. Now, I wish people could look at my face right now, because it's one of those moments where you just get crickets. Because what does this even mean? What does it mean? And here we go. That's a great synopsis. Thank you, Andrew Arlen, for typing that in there. Because I just, when I get into these topics, I get into them at so granular of a level that it turns into a whole rant. So I just, that's one of those situations that people just don't see it, right? They just don't see it. And it's because what's happening is that they're forcing people to take on debt so that they can then be beholden to them. And that's all it is. It's just like what we see nowadays. When you take on debt and you're then beholden to them, you're just screwed. And I honestly, no, I haven't even heard of these people, South Child. So I'm gonna have to look into them. Thank you for maybe I have and I just don't remember the names, but I don't think so. So I'm gonna have to look at that. I'm gonna have to look them up. So appreciate that. A lot of what I know is just from me connecting dots. It's not from anybody teaching me anything. I haven't had a mentor. I haven't had a teacher for any of this. This is just me connecting dots, and this is how I know anybody can do it, because they're not hiding this shit. If I can fucking figure it out, anybody can. Because let me tell you, again, they are not hiding it. Like, I just showed you that they're not. So, it is what it is. It's just a matter of whether you want to find it or not. And that's pretty much it, right? This is how it works. The borrower is enslaved to the lender. That's what being a creditor is being a slave owner to a certain extent, because until that debt is repaid, you have a claim on that person's assets or whatever, if it's a securitized loan, right? And most loans are backed by something. Nobody's going to give you money for nothing, right? So yeah. And look, I know you guys want a face reveal and all of that, but my mission is a little bigger than me showing my face. And I just need people to understand that. My mission is education, and the content should far supersede what the fuck I look like. Honestly. Like, I get it. You want to know who's telling you all this information. I understand, and I can relate, and I understand it. I understand it. But just respect the fact that the information that's being given is worthy of my life. Because if I get killed, guess what? You're SOL. Because here's something you have to understand. This is not a game. Right? This is not a game. They're out here doing what they want to do, and they don't give a fuck because you're letting them. Seriously, it's your fault. If you're watching this stream right now, it's your fault. It's your parents' fault. It's your grandparents' fault. It's all of our faults. Believe it or not, because we just let them do what they want. What the fuck is a board of governors? What are they approving? Who gives a fuck? Why does it matter? And why is this historic? Who are they? Why are they doing the largest SDR allocation in the history of the IMF? And how is the global economy benefiting from some shit that's not even money that can be used? Because the last time I checked, the US dollar was about the reserve currency. Is it not? That's what I thought it was. Is it now the SDR? What's going on? So apparently the SDR allocation will benefit all members, address the long-term global need for reserves, build confidence, and foster the resilience and stability of the global economy. Interesting. Huh. I kind of don't remember reading that. Let's see. The aim is to help them rebuild their international reserves, stabilize their currencies, continue paying for imports, and restore conditions for strong economic growth while correcting underlying problems. Huh. Confusing. IMF provides loans, including emergency loans, to member countries experiencing actual or potential balance of payment problems. Each member of the IMF is assigned a quota based broadly on its relative position in the world economy. Countries can now borrow from this pool when they fall into financial difficulty. Okay, so did the IMF just ramp up how much more tied these country members are to the system by just deciding to allocate 650 million more in total? Is that what just happened here? Maybe. And these are the kind of things you have to think about, right? Like, what prompted them to just give away 650 billion currency units of this fake currency, of this monopoly money that they call a special drawing right? I don't know, but let's keep going. So what is a special drawing right? The special drawing right is an international reserve asset created by the IMF. The IMF to supplement the official reserves of its member countries. Now, who the fuck gave these people authority to do that? Who? Well, I don't fucking know. Let's see if we can get anything from the website. Okay, so apparently somebody owns the IMF because this is copyrighted, all rights reserved. Copyright and usage. If this was public, why would it need a copyright? It would just be governmental public type shit, no? Or do I just not understand how that works? Let me see. Where is this? Let's see. Oops, hold on, guys. Incoming work crap. What does this guy want? Give me a second, guys. Oh, hold on. Yeah. So this is interesting, right? Where is there copyright and usage limitations on something that's supposed to be like for the world, right? Non-commercial usage only. Interesting. Now let's go to the bottom of this. Let's see. Interesting. Let's go here. Now, what am I looking for? I'm looking for anything that refers to ownership. And sometimes you will see that information listed within these fine print scenarios. But of course, not here. Now go look at, here we go. How to contact the IMF. Now, we have to understand that everything is built on layers of lies, right? Yeah. Everything is built on a layer of lies, right? And the reason that's important, God damn it. The reason that's important, the reason that's important is because it's a very critical item to understand about the world we live in, right? Because what they'll do is that they'll sprinkle truth amongst lies, right? And this is why people won't believe the actual lie when it comes. Now, we have an international organization that's supposed to be international, that's supposed to be for everything, but yet is not. And yet and still, Annual meetings, briefing for visitors, legislative affairs for some odd reason. And I say odd because if you're supposed to be a benevolent actor, why do you need legal representation if your only goal is to help and assist and guide? Right? And it's all of these little things that contradict the main message that you have to pay attention to. Ha, this is funny. Family organization. That's cool. Now let's see what the scam alert says, just because I'm curious. I've never actually read it. Okay, yeah, whatever. So this is the about page, right? This is where I got these snippets from. And these are what the headlines are, right? We are a global organization, so I'm not making this up. They detail how they are organized. They detail how they are financed. They detail that they do lending, right? But they also detail that they do economic surveillance, that they do capacity development. Now, these are packed words, right? They mean a lot, but they also mean a little. And the question is, how big is a little and how little is a lot? Or how big is a lot and how little is a little? And that's what's interesting about this, right? Because what we have here is just another misrepresentation of the facts, right? And that's why it's important to keep these kinds of things at the forefront, right? Well, the IMF monitors the international monetary system and global economic developments to identify, so they basically read the paper, to identify risks and recommend policies for growth and financial stability. Now, again, they started with 44, now they're at 190. Now let's look at some of their facts. They have, it was established in 1944. We went over that. 190 member countries, 150 nationalities among its staff, because that really matters, and that's cool. 24 directors. We already went over that as well, representing 190 countries. Now, lending facts. Amount available for lending, $1 trillion. Now, what in the hell they get $1 trillion to lend for? Apparently, they have 34 current lending programs as well, and I do have that information. 76 recipient countries of emergency pandemic financing. That's interesting. I didn't know the IMF was in the business of saving the world to the tune of, pandemics as well. I thought that was kind of just like a one-off thing that governments did, right? Because governments are there to like help and whatnot. But maybe not. Maybe that's the IMF's role now, and governments are just there to be told what to do. Interesting, right? Cool. So they also have $303 million for technical advice. Interesting, given how great their website is. Training and learning. Well, how about that? They're scientists as well. Who would have known? I didn't. Oh, shit. They're scientists 2 times over. Fuck. Not only do they solve economic issues, but they solve weather issues and medical issues. Holy shit. What don't these motherfuckers do? It's incredible. It's incredible. All right. Back to SDR. And this is where I got that information on SDRs from, right? This isn't, again, my information. And when you look at it, there's a link, right? And when you're looking at the address bar on this page, topics, special drawing rights is the slug, right? Like, that's what it is. So they even let you know the SDR is not a currency. It is a potential claim on freely usable currencies of IMF members. So it's a claim. It's an IOU. It's an IOU on an IOU. It's an IOU on an IOU, right? Like, that's crazy. And I'm going to start doing this from now on because it's very important. People are still running into this issue, so I figured I'd start doing this. Never give out your private keys or seed phrase. They're the same thing. Private keys, seed phrase, just depends who your wallet provider is, whatever term that they use. But make sure you never, ever, ever give that out. That's your money right there, if you don't know. So yeah. What the fuck is going on? All right. Yeah, so give me a second, guys. I just need to do something real quick that's gonna require me to use my mouse. All right. Okay. Come on. Of course. Fucking dicks. All right, give me a second, guys. I just need to do something real quick. But yeah, so let me just keep reading then while I'm doing this. So a basket in those currencies, right? So the SDR is an IOU to an IOU. Long story short, right? And this is what they're letting us know there. And they're not being shy about it, right? Like they're clearly letting you know. And that's okay, right? Apparently that's okay. And we're just, we're all good. We don't have to worry about it. It'll be okay. And that's basically what they want us to think. So it's an IOU of an IOU, in which are the IOUs in question. The IOUs in question are the US dollar, the euro, the yuan, the yen, and the pound sterling. So in essence, these are essentially the countries that basically determine what happens in the world. While you're out here thinking that there's this whole battle going on. Nope. You've been lied to this whole time, because why would they share financial interests if they did actually have opposing battles? Right? Seriously, think about it. Right? So why would the like China and the US and like China's against everybody, so it seems right now, right? That's the narrative that's being pushed out there. Now, my question to you is, if this was true, why would they share economic interest? Why? Doesn't really make sense. So something to think about, right? And this is the percentage of the weighting for the value of the SDR, right? So this is a representation of the ownership, basically. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. So, excuse me, the fact sheet on the SDR. The SDR is an international reserve asset created by these folks in '69 to supplement its member countries' official reserves. Now, let me ask you guys a question. What happened right after 1969 and what was occurring during 1969? I'll let you guys think about it, and maybe you can put it in the chat if you understand what I'm about to refer to. If you know your monetary history, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, because right around this time, two things that changed the financial future for the world happened forever. Well, the first instance started earlier, but it was already occurring in 1969. The second instance happened in 1971. So let's see if you guys can figure it out in the chat. I'll give you guys a couple seconds. So let's see. Give you guys some time, because I talk about it all the time. All of the time. Because it's a beautiful thing to understand. Beautiful thing to understand. So now there's been a few seconds. I'll check the chat and see if you guys got it. Some of you kind of got it. So in 1969, nobody named this. This was what's going on in 1969. In 1969, Vietnam was rampant. Right? Vietnam was pretty much at the height of everything. Expenditures, troops, deaths, whatever. So is it really any coincidence that this was created around that time? And you had to think it was in development prior to that, right? So what happened in 1971, as everybody put in the chat, was yes, the gold standard. The U.S. defaulted on its gold. That's what happened in 1971, August 15th, 1971. And we're 11 days away. I'm going to do a special stream on that date to commemorate that event and highlight how our world has transitioned from that point in time to the present moment in time with crypto, because we've transcended the need for gold and silver. In reality, we have transcended that need, but it's very difficult for people to understand that, because technology is very hard for people to wrap their heads around. Like, it took me a while, and it's hard, and it can't be taken lightly. That's why this information is supremely important. It's so important. And I'm glad to be able to relay this information, because this shit is going to change your life, because it changed mine. Because now I know I'm doing the right thing, financially speaking, because I'm making the decisions that I think are best based on the information that I know is true, and not something, yeah, it's going to be a 50-year special. That's right. That's exactly why I'm doing it. It's been 50 years since that point in time. 50 years we've been living under a fiat regime, strictly free floating. Thank you, Bala. This is a good little synopsis, but no such thing as peace talks. That was just really a show for the people, right? In a lot of ways we have, because again, what's going on, T Bird? Shout out to you, my brother. Thank you for coming through. Again, gold and silver, cumbersome to move, cumbersome to deal with. Governments know it exists. They also own a big chunk of it, right? They suppress the value of it. They do what they can to make sure you stay poor in that metal. What can't they control, however? Well, crypto. And guess what? The only crypto, if you're in this chat, that exists. Literally. So congratulations. You're a small nexus of the population that will probably be okay after these people do what they do, because they're going to do it, especially if nothing happens before they do it. And maybe it has to happen so people understand, right? Because people don't understand, and that's the bigger issue. So for so far, and this is, I'm guessing, with respect to 2021, let's see. Yeah, no, this is 2009. So yeah, I got a little chart for this. As of 2009, there was a 300 billion in SDR and USD value of SDRs issued. And we'll get to that. What are the quantity of special drawing rights in existence? Oh, that's fine. Give me a second, guys, because I just don't like typos. And I just didn't notice this one. All right. And this is the last slide, and we're gonna finish it up right here. We're gonna go hard and home and to go home here. So as of 2009, as you guys just read, 204 billion in total SDRs outstanding, right? Which at the time was a value of 293 billion, right? USD value. This is from today. 476 SDRs, right? Multiplied by a value of 0.76 or whatever, so 75% of this. So 300 and whatever billion that ends up being. Let's see. 476.272 times 75 or so. 357 billion in SDRs, and multiply that by, I don't know what the current exchange rate is. Let's just say it's 72. Yeah, that number isn't right. So up until they issued that, right, the quantity, the US dollar value for this was approximately 270 billion or so. I guess the level have fluctuated. Let me see. Give me a second, guys. I'm just thinking that this is wrong. SDR to USD. Yeah, that is wrong. Okay, I thought so. So give me a second. Yeah, so this should be Let me divide this by 0.75, multiply it by 1.48. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Okay. All right. So the reason I'm pausing right now is because this number is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. So 500 billion in USD terms, and now they've just added 650 billion. And this is where where'd it go? Oh no, I think it was on that. Where'd it go? Damn it. I must have closed that page. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to find something. Yeah, I must have closed that page. Or maybe it's somewhere else. Where the hell did it go? Oh, maybe it's here. Yeah, here it is. So this must be where the trillion comes from, right? You have the current value. Where'd it go? Right, 477 billion. The value I was showing was 476 billion, right? And the exchange rate, I guess, when they took this, yielded this dollar value at the time. So whatever, it's a lot, right? And that's the point. So now they just doubled up, right? And that's what this is saying, right? So how do you end up as a member of the IMF? Why is the IMF allowed to take this role? And it's honestly because no government. Okay, so here was the exchange rate as of July 1st is August 4th. So it's probably different now. So why why do governments just let these people do what they want? That's the question, right? And I think we have the answer here. And this is what this is all about, right? It's again another face, another layer of the line, right? This is what we need to be aware of, right? And thank you for the super chat earlier. I'm sorry that I didn't even address it. Battery, appreciate the super chat, brother, for 499 super chat, much appreciated. And I just appreciate you guys just sitting here. I mean, look, we're 160 deep. At 10 a.m. I've been going for an hour and a half. So thank you guys for joining, listening in. This is important information, right? And odds are we might even have some bad actors on the other side listening to this, and that's okay. You know it's coming anyway, so you'll be all right. So how do you even become a member of the IMF, and how does that even happen, right? And this is the thing that's important to understand. This is a small snippet of just what I was looking for before this loan, just to show you guys that you have to understand that this data is out there. You know, it's not coming from me, and I just love to harp on this because people need to realize that you're just being lied to, and stop believing the lies because it's here in your face. And now let's look at the criticisms of the IMF, just because it's cool to. Over time, the IMF has been subject to all range of criticisms. Now, I haven't read this. This is my first time reading this. And I think what you're going to end up finding is that if you look a little bit into the history of the IMF after this stream, now that you have a pretty solid idea of who the IMF is, where they came from, and we haven't gotten yet to who owns them or whatever, but we're getting there yet. We're getting there. It's kind of all coalesce and make sense. The IMF has been subject to criticisms, a range of criticisms, generally focused on the conditions of its loans. Don't forget, They got $1 trillion just for you. The IMF has also been criticized for its lack of accountability and willingness to lend to countries with bad human rights records. Well, oh, that sounds familiar. Where the fuck? Where'd that come from? Well, here's another one. And actually, it's another one too. People forget, but they're the originators of all this shit. Everybody else just followed along. Let's not forget that, right? Conditions of his loans. And this is just one of a list of the criticisms. On giving loans to countries, the IMF make the loan conditional on the implementation of certain economic policies. And this is, you can find this anywhere, right? IMF loans to countries in need. Headlines. Let's just look for headlines. Last year. Let's see. Now, this is interesting to me because this is an opinion piece. Who said that they must do, like, who are you? I don't even know who you are, bro. So how does, why does this matter? It doesn't. And that's the thing. These are things that we have to pay attention to. Oh, and thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate that, NJ. Yep. Yes, they do. A lot of people need to know the tomatoes in the sauce and what they're made of. That's a fact. So thank you very much, guys, for listening in. Please, this is very important stuff, because it's gonna change your way of thinking, right? And this is what we need. This is interesting. List of IMF programs. Lots of IMF programs are never completed because they're unworkable. And this is, again, a function of what we're talking about already, right? The criticisms, right? So here's another random headline. When we found it just looking for some other shit. We weren't even looking for that, right? Now this is interesting. United States desperately trying to block IMF handing over what? Handing over SDR money to Zimbabwe. Okay. Why the hell is that? This is in the past year. This is something interesting to look into. Maybe the U.S. has some side deal with them that they didn't want these people fucking up. So again, there's a whole lot of funny stuff going on all over the place, right? Question is, what exactly? Let's see. Jamaica Observer, what they talking about here? This doesn't seem like it's relevant. Probably somebody that just worked there at some point. So there's a whole lot of headlines. IMF money, Colombia is listening. Let's see. What do we have here? After a year of bad news, Colombia's fortune is finally improving at the end of September. The IMF expanded Colombia's credit line by $7 billion. Ha ha ha. Now, interestingly enough, Colombia was doing very well by itself up until 2020. It was one of the fastest growing countries in a lot of, ways that you would want to look at that statistic. Give me a second, guys, so I just make sure my work shit doesn't disappear. And that's important to understand because it also ties into what's going on. Why did the world have to shut down? It really didn't. Clearly, we know this by now. If you've been even paying a little bit of attention to what's been going on over the past couple of months, right? It's been made pretty clear that everything is a farce. People have been caught in lies. People have been caught in all kinds of shit, right? And it's not my opinion. It's out there. Just go look for it. So Colombia was doing great. And then all of a sudden, 2020 happened and they need $7 extra billion from the IMF. Interesting turn of events for Colombia. And then an unfortunate turn of events for Colombia. Nigeria, 3.5 billion. Good for them. Warning: globalists are buying up countries. There you go. This is alternative media, and this is kind of what I'm alluding to, right? This is what's really going on. And this is, again, a function of the search that I did, right? And my settings don't record anything like that. So this is just what's the thread's going to pull up. It's just what it's going to pull up. So that's what it is, right? And this is just to show, right, that these are not foreign thoughts. These are things that are always at the front. But governments are tied into this, and I'm about to show you how. But we're going to first go over some of the criticisms, right? Policies tend to involve reduced government borrowing, higher taxes, and lower spending by governments, i.e., austerity measures. Now, where have we heard this term before? We all heard, if you've been paying attention to Wall Street if in the past 10 years, then this term, Greek austerity, as you guys can see, is going to lead to a lot of different things, right? Riots, crisis, package, program, measures list. Now, what happened to Greece in 2009, 2010? Well, let me give you a little quick synopsis. Long story short, the EU was presenting itself as a benevolent actor that was going to be there to help countries essentially bring themselves out of poverty. But what ended up happening was just not that. It's not what ended up happening at all. What ended up happening was just that. Give me a second. I'm just going to see something. Okay. Hold on. What ended up happening was that this country became put really at, like, it just got extorted year after year after year after year after year until it was just broken. And in short, this was the test for what's about to happen everywhere else. Fact, not fiction. If you don't know about Greece and what happened to them starting 2009 on forward, please look into it. It was a hell of a thing to watch in real time. It's how I ended up learning my macro and what the hell was going on. Because what happened is that the EU presented itself as this actor that was going to help countries bring themselves out of poverty or improve the financial situation, but they had to meet certain financial thresholds. A reputable financial institution on Wall Street helped Greece fake their numbers to get into this economic club called the European Union. Now, what then happened is that Greece was then allowed to adopt the euro currency versus its old currency. Now, anytime something like that happens, you're making a switch from one economic system to another. And the values are not going to be the same. And what it leads to is this, ultimately, because if it shouldn't have happened in the first place, then none of this would have happened as a second, third, fourth order effects. And this is where we're going worldwide. If we don't adopt crypto, period. This is where we're going worldwide, because we're about to see how they make the sauce. Still going to get to that. Higher interest rates, right? They're allowing failing firms to go bankrupt, structural adjustments, privatization of certain entities and structures like toll roads, for example, deregulation, reducing corruption and bureaucracy, right? Like, they don't want you to do anything to help yourself. Right? And clearly they do make things worse. And this is an example that they give here. I mean, if you haven't heard about Argentina, that's another classic example. So yeah, give me a second, guys. Give me a second, guys. All right. Sorry about that. Then you got exchange rate reforms, right? When they intervened in Kenya in the 90s, this made the central bank remove controls over the flows of capital, right? And that probably caused their currency to just go to crap, right? And that's just how it works, right? So here's something you got to understand. When they invoke certain restrictions, they invoke those restrictions on purpose. Their goal is to keep you locked in. Devaluations. In the earlier days, the IMF have been criticized for allowing inflationary devaluations. Neoliberal criticism. There is also criticism of neoliberal policies such as privatization, like privatizing water, roads, etc. Arguably, these free market policies were not always suitable for the situation of the country. For example, think about Walmart, for example. Free market criticism of the IMF, as well as being criticized for implementing free market reforms. Other criticize the IMF for being too interventionist. And I think we've already seen that just in Greece alone, right? The Troika was I can't get into Greece. It's going to make this into a 4-hour thing, and I honestly don't have the 4 hours. Sorry, guys, but it's a whole lot. Lack of transparency, right? We already know that. We don't know anything that they do. We don't know much about them except for what we can find online. And yes, this is a fact. They have supported and do support military dictatorships, and we'll see that shortly. The IMF has been criticized for supporting military dictatorships in Brazil and Argentina, such as Castellano Branco in the 60s received IMF funds denied to other countries. So just one of the many. And these, I guess, are just responses to the criticism of the IMF. Well, but again, right, this is just one of the many facets of what is going on, right? Here's another criticism of what they do and how they do it, right? Just to give a little overview here. In a world of ever-increasing globalization and independent economies, the role of the international guardian is occupied by two large bodies, the IMF and the World Bank. Interesting, right? Like, think about that. Who gave them the right to do that? Who are these people? You don't know nothing about them. They're not benevolent actors. If you knew who they were, then maybe you can consider them benevolent actors, but they're not, right? So here we go. IMF members, quotas, and voting power, and IMF board of members. Where the hell do they come from? Articles of agreement of the IMF is where they come from. And how is that? Well, let's see. Here we go. Is this it? No, I think this is where I want to be. All right. So the article of wait. Hold on. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything in the way I'm connecting the dots for you guys, because that's pretty much the key here, is connecting all the dots in the proper way. So the IMF at a glance. This is where I probably wanted to be. So the IMF promotes financial stability and monetary cooperation, which we already know by looking at Greece. That's not true, as well as any other entity that they've tried to help. Just Google. It's there. Founding and mission. We already went over this. We already went over how they surveil. We already went over how they really just don't provide any help, right? They really don't. What we haven't gone over is how countries end up in this situation, right? And that's a whole nother topic. And there is a guy called the Economic Hitman that wrote a book detailing exactly how this actually happens. So this isn't, I'm not the only person that sees this. Like, this is well known. Here we go. Member quotas are the primary source of the IMF financial resources. A member's quota broadly reflects its size and position in the world economy. The IMF regularly conducts general reviews of quotas. The 14th review was conducted in 2010 and became effective in 2016, and that's when China was allowed in, actually. That's when China was allowed in, FYI. So the 15 review was conducted most recently in 2020 with no increase or change in the quota. In addition to quotas, credit arrangement between the IMF and a group of members and its institutions provide supplementary resources. These arrangements are called new arrangements to borrow, the main backstop to quotas, which is interesting because this is how they're backing what they're doing to a certain extent, right? So again, it calls the question, how? Governance and organization. The IMF is accountable to its member country governments. At the top of his organization, we already went over this, so we're not going to read that again. To just highlight this detail, right? One governor and one alternate from each member country, usually top officials from the central bank or finance ministry of that country. So again, it brings us back to Board of Governors. Well, where did we see this before? Within the central bank or finance ministry, because that's just another term for it, depending on the country. The Board of Governors meets once a year. 24 of the governors serve on the board, right? Whatever. Which advises all this nonsense. Okay, great. So here's the thing. Damn it, where is it? Let me make sure I'm not missing something here. Let me go back to this. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. So, all right. The Board of Governors is the highest decision-making body of the IMF. The governor is appointed by a member country and is usually the Minister of Finance, the governor of the central bank, right? Fair enough. The table below shows the quota and voting shares for IMF members, right? We know that this was the last time there was a change in January 2016. We just went over that, even though there was the most recent review in 2020. But there hasn't been a change since then, right? So the question becomes, well, how do you enter this, right? Like, how do you become a member of this? We got Afghanistan as a member. Afghanistan, Algeria, Albania, Angola, Argentina. We know how they became a member, right? Armenia, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan. You have all these countries, Bahrain, that you can't even transact with, right? Right? Like, it's interesting, no? Countries you can't even transact with have a stake in the IMF. Interesting. And look at who the largest borrowers are. Some of the poorest countries on the planet. That's something to take into consideration because that's serious. The largest precautionary loans. Some more of the poorest countries in the nation or in the world. And by poorest, I mean people with no money. Not the fact that there's industry or economy there. No, I mean as far as people, like the population makeup. It's not existent. As far as no, it's not like Hex. So this is crazy, right? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. When you sit there and think about what their goals are and all that, doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up with the story. And that's the whole point. So we got all of these countries, Cabo Verde, Cameroon, Canada, Chad, Chile, China, right? We got all these member countries, right? They all have a slice, right? It lists the governor, right? All these things. All these things. So how do you join? Like Haiti is even listed on here. How? Makes no sense. So let's look at the Articles of Agreement. The Articles of Agreement of the IMF were adopted at guess where? The UN Monetary Financial Conference, Bretton Woods. Okay. There were originally 29, and since then, they have been ratified to a total of 190 member countries. As a charter of the organization, the articles lay out the fund's purpose, which include the promotion of international monetary cooperation through a permanent institution. Interesting. Permanent institution, which provides the machinery for consultation and collaboration on international monetary problems. How do they even arise in the first place? Again, right? Like, how does that happen? The articles also established the mandate of the organization and its member rights and obligations, its governance structure and roles of its organs, and lays out various rules of operations, including those related to the conduct of its operations and transactions regarding SDRs. Interesting, no? So when you like sit there and read all of this stuff, it gets a little funky, right? You got original members, other members. Membership shall be open to other countries at such times and in accordance with such terms as may be prescribed by the Board of Governors, aka we'll let you know how we feel at that point in time. I mean, that pretty much lays it all out, because this is their articles for membership. Quotas and subscriptions. Each member shall be assigned a quota expressing special drawing rights. The quotas of the members represented at the the UNMF conference. This is just the original language, right? The quotas of membership shall be determined by the Board of Governors. The subscription of each member shall be equal to its quota and shall be paid in full to the fund at the appropriate depository. I happen to look up just what's up, older dog. Funny, bro. And this is the adjustment of the quota. This is the basic for what it is now, which is what's important to look at. The Board of Governors shall at intervals of not more than 5 years conduct a general review, and if it deems it appropriate, propose an adjustment. If it deems it appropriate. Again, who are these people and who put them in place? This is the book. Thank you, Ali. I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not chopping up your name, but thank you very much for providing the name of the author. That is the gentleman in question. Definitely check him out. He has a video, interviews all over the place. He's the truth. But this is just to give you, right, a very good synopsis of what's happening real time, right? Obligations. Endeavor to direct its economic and financial policies toward the objective of fostering all this stuff, right? Like, they make it sound good. They make it sound real. And I'll put all these links in the chat. They make it sound real good, but, or not in the chat, in the description of the video, but it's just not true, right? This is just all general boilerplate language, right? This is all this is. But again, this is a representation of ownership within this entity, because articles of organization are legal documents. They don't exist. They don't exist for no reason. They exist for a reason. Articles of agreement. Right? This is published as ISBN. It's official. It's legit. Right? And it's adopted. So countries respect this to some type of degree, or some type of document that's weight. It's weighty, right? It's not just irrelevant. It means something, right? So these are the kind of things we have to take into consideration when we're looking at all this information, right? Because you have all of these countries that are involved here, all of them. So the IMF, in essence, owns all of these countries. It's not really the other way around, as we know, because once you owe them, they own you. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. Now, we see that they're trying to come hard now, right? Because they just boosted their allocation by 650 billion, right? Into what they're going to make available for people to borrow, right? And that's important to understand because this is them springing their quota or springing their tentacles into the economic universe. And this is what people need to be aware of. IMF forcing SDRs. That's what we get. This didn't like my use of forcing there. That's cool. Let's see if we get anything here. So basically, just to highlight again, SDRs are a claim on the basket of currencies that make up those SDRs. So they're an IOU to the IOUs. Just want people to understand that. Let's see. Because the thing about it is, you know, at a certain point in time, they were giving out fiat, right? And then they were like, nah, we're just, you got to take these SDRs as a claim. But now they're just giving out SDRs. So it's different. It's a technical difference. Let's see. Interesting. I'm not finding anything now. I guess they scrubbed this shit. Interesting. Concerns that flood the world with liquidity. Oh, this came out a couple weeks ago. All right, let's see. Nope. All right, well, let me read it. But that's cool because we already know what's going on there, so it's fine. But again, look, they're lending money to whoever, man. Just it's crazy. Like what they're doing is crazy. And this is what people need to understand. To protect American taxpayers, the U.S. must block massive expansion of IMF fund special drawing rights. Well, this is interesting because this just happened and this came out over almost a year ago. Now let's just read the summary. There's a proposal circulating in Washington under the pretext of aiding developing countries. Affected by the pandemic to increase the amount of SDRs available at the IMF by up to $2 trillion. Right now, they're only at $1 trillion, about 2.8 trillion in USD value. If approved, this would amount to money printing on a global level. That's right. The Trump administration and Congress should tell the IMF, blah, blah, blah. The IMF should use its ample existing, blah, 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 blah. All right, whatever. Key takeaways. Since its founding after World War II, the IMF has been valuable. Well, we know this isn't true. So this guy's just not liking the printing on a global scale, I guess. The IMF expanding its morally hazardous. This is interesting. So here's a cool. This is looking at something in real time where somebody that's respected enough to be published and is a fellow for economic freedom and growth. Like this is a person that's educated, entitled, and all this shit, right? They are clearly straddling the line in how they're writing. You want the IMF to exist, but you don't want it to do what it wants. Can't have it both ways, sir, because you don't determine what they do. Right? Like, it's funny. And these are the kind of things people have to take into consideration. Like, this is real, and they're doing it, whether you want them to or not. So the question is, how do we do what we need to do to make sure we don't fall victim to anything that they're doing? Because we are going to fall victim. Because we transact in fiat. We get paid in fiat. We earn income in fiat. Right? Like they do everything in fiat because it's their preferred method of value exchange. So what do we have to do? It's very simple, actually. And it's use our own method of value exchange. And we already got that handled. We just have to keep spreading the education, spreading the information, spreading the value, right? Helping people understand what the hell is going on. helping people realize that this is a power grab. Because what ends up happening is that the further these currencies get into the pockets of these governments, or the bigger the amount of currencies that they are able to put in the pockets of these governments, the more power they have over what they can dictate within those countries, within those jurisdictions. And this is in essence how we will get a global tax. This is how we will get the World Economics Forums. You will be happy and you will own nothing. You will, and that's just how it's going to go down. You will own nothing and you will be happy. So be aware of what's going on. Stop being ready to transact in fiat. Realize that you earn fiat and you then convert it to crypto. So in essence, you should only be keeping the fiat you need to use to transact in fiat. That's what you should really be doing, right? So shout out to Motley. What's going on, bro? Hope you're enjoying your vacation, man. Oh, man. Thank you for the super chat, Wesley. Yeah, this is what we're here to do, brother. We're here to share the facts and the facts only. Maybe I should change my name to Facts Only instead of Whales Only, right? Because that's pretty much what we're all about over here. We're not here to play games. We're here to share information that's going to help people make the right decisions to invoke the right future that we want. And the future that we want is a financially free future, not a financially restrained future, because ask all the millionaires and billionaires that exist today, they can't do a fucking thing with all that money. They can't do fuck all with it. That's why credit is so important, because that's the only way they can survive. Period. As Jeff Bezos is going to sell all his stocks since he's worth 180 million minus divided by 2 or whatever it is, since he's now divorced. Ask him. Ask Warren Buffett to sell all his holdings. Ask them, since they're billionaires. Do it. Let's see how billionaire they really are. Because even in legacy, you can't do that. And these are the things that people have to understand about markets. Okay? So, you know, this is the end of my talk. Thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate everybody sticking around this whole time. If you're late, go back and watch, because it was a good one. At least I think it was. I connect a lot of dots as always. And I'm letting people understand that they need to pick the right side, because the systems that we choose to express value in are determined by us, not by anybody else. Governments can make claim whatever the fuck they want as legal tender. That's their fucking problem. It's our problem to determine what we see as value. This is why people pay $50 for a freaking Pokemon card, for fuck's sake. So do yourself the service of understanding these streams. Go through all of my streams, please. Educate yourself. Go through all the Quant Gang streams. Any of the technical streams that you see for Hex are going to have the similar kind of information displayed in a different way. Get the point of view that you need, because it's needed. You need to make the right financial decision for yourself, because if we don't, we're going to fail. So with that, I leave everyone. Please stay educated, not influenced. And Whales out. If you're new, let me show my crap. I'm coming out with a website. If you ever want to hire me for a consultation, you could do it there. It'll have a blog. It'll probably have my charts at some point. It's going to have a lot of useful information. It's going to be where I probably am going to house all my videos. The name of the website is wellsonly.com. It's not up yet. I'm having an issue with connecting it to the damn call it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm having an issue getting my ownership verified with freaking Squarespace. So that'll be coming. Hopefully within the day, if not the next couple of days, until I can figure that crap out. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/wellsonly. I'm on Twitter at twitter.com/wellsonly1. The number 1 at the end. On Telegram at t.me/Wales only. And, you know, I'm not here to influence guys. I'm here to educate, because the fact of the matter is that when you have all the right information, you're going to make the same decision that I would anyway. So, you know, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to tell you what's going on, because once you know what's going on, you're going to make the right decision. It's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to you. You're going to either choose to be a slave or you're not, right? That's the decision you have to make, and nobody can make that decision for you. So, you know, stay educated, not influenced. Seek education, not to be taught, right? And there's a difference there. You guys stay up. Thank you for joining me so early in the morning on a special broadcast. And you guys have a great day, a great night, wherever you're at. Shout out. Wales out.